questions, but I don't want to take too much of your time. Is it possible to know how do you select the people who get into these courses?
So what we do
What's the
is
basis?
so what we do for Uki is basically we have a two-step process. So what we do is first they need to send in an application. So application actually has a comprehensive coverage in there where we have even them to write articles as in describing why they need to be selected and all of that. So they put up a defense on why we should select them. And also we gather data about themselves and the demographic as well, especially with respect to the earnings of the family and all of that, which we collect, which is sensitive information, but it gives us insights because we want to make sure that we give this opportunity, especially for children in need, because if they can get into private universities, we would rather allow them to do that because that's a bigger opportunity that they have. So that's one part of it, the application process. The second step of that is we then bring them in for interviews. In the interview, we have criteria that we look at and we assess them against that criteria. And then based on that, we make an offer for them to select. So it's offered as a scholarship. And just to make sure that the seriousness, we make sure that there is a agreement signed between them, like us as YarlIT have banned their parents or guardians to commit to saying that they're taking this seriously. They will make sure that the children come in and try to complete best to their ability. So we go through that kind of a process when we select children for for Uki, which is our coding school. So I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's a 6 months course, isn't it?
Yes, it is a 6 months course. Yes.
So you said there's no exam, pass or fail as such. Then how do you say it's a presentation of a project? And what's the percentage of people getting through that?
So usually what happens is there is a kind of failure rate or opt-out rate that happens. So a lot of like about I would say 20 to 30%. When it's online, it's actually larger. It can be 20 to 40% actually opt out of the program during the progression of it. So by the time they had because of their commitment or like whatever inability or whatever struggle that they go through, they fall out of the program. So the numbers that I was showing are the people who are completing the program, but there is always like a dropout rate of 20, but when it's online, it's actually higher because it can range from on a particular batch from 30 to 40%, which is still better because like if you look at online courses globally, the pass out rate is even higher than that. So I would say most of them fall out by the time it's the presentation because they know this is the expectation, this is the bar and all of that, and they by themselves. Normally, children who present are already ready, and I've never seen somebody who has presented and done all the work being denied the certificate.
So you're saying almost 80% get through the line.
Yes.
Yeah, they come in and then they're evaluated by a judge committee that is international. Do you want to speak about that?
Yeah, so especially for Uki, what happens is like, okay, so there are two parts that happen. So one is Uki, where again, we have like a panel of experts who would actually who work in the industry, who would actually listen to what they're doing. And then based on that, we kind of say that, okay, this looks above standard. The secondly, I think Vasandan was mentioning also about the YarlGeek challenge, which is the competition where they come and kind of pitch. On that competition, it's an international panel that comes in and they get an opportunity to pitch in front of an international panel. So for example, at the YarlGeek challenge, we had 2 rounds. So on the first round, we have a lot of people living around the world being on the panel, evaluating them. And if you look at the finals, we had the likes of Radish and we had the likes of Rajan and then all of them sitting through and kind of evaluating and looking at and also giving feedback, and also most importantly post session opening up networking and also investment opportunities for them. So that's how all these get structured. So they get an opportunity to actually get time in front of people who can make a difference in them or help them in their own journey.
And then the winners get initial seed funding to run the company for, what is it, 1 year or 2 years?
Yes, so they get immediate funding. So usually it's good enough to run at least for 6 to 12 months. Usually it's more than that. So they run it more than that. And at the demo day, they raise proper investment. So I know that demo day of YarlGeek Challenge, YGC Accelerator happened about in December, and I know already 2 companies have raised significant amount of money to expand their operations. So like this is happening, connecting a lot of people around the world at this point of time.
So the venture capitalists invest on these things.
Absolutely, but most of them are impact investors.
I think they're impact investors. They're not looking for return. They just want to help these people get started, and they're not looking for return because they're typical venture capital looking for return. The investors here are not looking for return. They just want to help these people get going.
But
And, and they want these companies to be profitable, be able to run on their own. That's the goal. So they need they need a starting capital to get going for 6 to 12 months. And then the goal is to get these companies to, they're profitable, they can run on their own, they don't need any help, and they employ 30, 40 people. That's the goal.
What I understand, but what I try to understand is there's a contract between the startup and the fund.
Absolutely. So there is an equity arrangement, but it's not like they know that. So to give some context, that
there's a risk.
Had an exit in the whole country, like as only about 4 or 5 exits. So they don't really have a return out of it, or no, they are not expecting that. So that's not the way that they're evaluating those startups. I think that's the point Vasanth made.
Okay, thank you.
And these are not hundreds of thousands of dollars. These are not we're talking about thousands and maybe 2000s, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's not, there is a seed fund that Santan has that a lot of people have put money in, and that's what's funding it today. But it's not the venture capital you think of in US. It's not. It's not millions. What we are talking.
No.
Correct.
Now I have another question. How the classes are funded, like the YarlIT activities, or the online course and everything? How are they funded?
Correct. So what we did was we actually after we started, we've also signed up agreements and sponsorship with organizations, which came along to kind of commit for a 5-year commitment with us. So that's the commitment we have signed up with. So we have ITEF, which is a foundation based in California, which has been funding us. They were the first to come on board on the 5-year plan that we started executing. We have GIZ, German funding agency, which has been funding us. Now we have Ford Foundation, along with Lankan Angel Network, who has been kind of funding us. And then we have Lebara Foundation, Radishan from Lebara, who has been funding us. And now recently we've also got on board Serendip Foundation, who's also come on board to kind of fund us. So we continuously look for these, and also they seek us, and they see the impact and the work that's happening, and then fund us so that we can kind of scale what we are doing.
So Santan, you and others are all volunteers here.
Absolutely. So we are volunteers. So we work on a voluntary basis, and that's how we have also made sure that the articles of association is defined. So all of us are voluntary, and we don't take any remuneration out of this, and that's the way it's structured. And every year we have about 300 to 400 people volunteering with us in different capacities to do and execute the programs we execute. And now we employ permanent employees. So employees are paid, of course. So they are employees who run the coding school, the spaces that we run, the activities that we run. But like again, the employees, although we are not for profit, are evaluated like in business, because they all have KPIs which they want to achieve, but it's more impact KPIs that they have, and they all work towards that. So that's how we have structured. We brought in, so we would call ourselves a social enterprise. Not for profit is the right word for us. We are a social enterprise, and we make sure that every cent we spend has impact on the community. So that's how we evaluate each one of our employees.
Santan, you should you should tell them why you actually got involved in this. Personally, what it means to you.
So it means a lot, because so there were 2 incidents that actually triggered this to me. One was So largely, I've not lived in Jaffna for a very long period of time. Like I think, as Vasant mentioned at the start, I was educated in Kandy. I did my degree there. So Sarvez was 1 year senior to me at the university. We were friends, and we continued to like we from the university time. Both of us had been friends. And then what happened was at one point of time, soon after the war, Sarvez made a major decision. He was already at Morato University and he said he wants to quit and actually move to Jaffna to serve the community. So I was already in the tech sector in Colombo, and a lot of people were moving, and probably I was lucky as well. So I kind of got a lot of growth opportunities, and in very quick time, probably I was lucky, as I said. I came to a position where I was already a CW of a tech company in Colombo. And then what happened was Sarvez would always say like the children there did not have opportunities, and he would invite me to come and speak at the Jaffna University and stuff like that. So I had multiple times I started going there, and every time I went there, Sarvez would say, that was his all the thought that he had. And then one of the things that happened was there was a career guidance seminar. I was just invited to come in for the career guidance to give some career guidance to children. And this was very early days. And then for the first time, these were children who were brought in from the Manic farm, who were brought in and put in front of us, and we were supposed to give career guidance to them. It kind of broke me into pieces because it didn't make sense to give career guidance to those children who has not even have had access to a computer, nor anything of that kind. It was just like, and most of them were traumatized, and I was talking to them, they were in their own worlds, and it kind of broke me into pieces because what the hell are we doing with ourselves? So at that point of time, I kind of, the thought of like, okay, we should do something was always triggered. And then for my work, I was traveling and I was in Kenya, in Nairobi. And one day I was on a consultancy assignment, and the CEO of that company said, Simon, I'm just going over for an event. Why don't you tag along with me? And he took me to a place called as iHub in Nairobi. And he told me like, and I just watched in awe what was happening in Nairobi, because I went into Africa thinking very, I'm ashamed of myself how I thought, like, because it was called the Black Continent. The description of what I had and what I saw was completely like mind-blowing for me. I saw how Google, Microsoft were setting up shop in Kenya to learn how Kenyans were doing mobile money. So even Google Wallet was built based on what M-Pesa was doing in Kenya. It was remarkable for me to see how the Kenyan youth, or in Nairobi youth, were trying to work on entrepreneurship and innovation. That inspired me. So I wrote an email to 5 of my friends saying that we should do something, and I'm dreaming big. If we do something like this, we might make Jaffna into a Silicon Valley. So some of these guys returned back the email saying like, okay, this sounds interesting. Let's work on this, and quoted the sentence like, let's make Jaffna into the Silicon Valley. And then we put that out as a vision, saying even today, YarlIT's vision is to say that we want to make Jaffna into Silicon Valley. To make it easy, we kind of explain it in the other way, saying it's a mission of building an innovation hub. And then we put that out, put that idea out in social media. A lot of people came and said, tell us what to do. And then we structured our programs and started executing. So today we have a lot of people around the world who volunteer with us, and this is not a single person or few people's work. It's a work, and I'm just being a spokesperson on behalf of hundreds of people who are volunteering, putting their money, putting their time to make things happen. So I'm just a voice to just say proudly what all these people are doing.
I ask a question?
Let me ask one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, just a second. To start the question, Sarvez, did you study in Norway?
No, Sarvez has been in Germany. So he has been on and off in Germany on fellowship. But he's not based in. As far as I know, he doesn't have.
Yeah, I think he studied in Norway. Okay, anyway, it's a different story.
Okay, but he's based at the Jaffna University.
Oh yeah.
Thank you, Simon. Thank you for your wonderful presentation. Let us 2 questions. Yeah, one is these online courses. Is it recognized by the international or local education department or internationally? Was it recognized? And second question, those people who are not afford to use computers, how is there a funding for them to buy a laptop or iPad or whatever it is?
Mhm.
That's it. Thank you, Sean.
Right. So thank you for your compliments. I'll start with the second question first. To explain for children, so most children who come into UKI don't have their computers. They don't have their laptops or anything like that. So we actually provide them with a laptop during the course. So we provide them with a laptop during the course, but post the course, they will have to actually kind of return that back by that. But by that time, most likely they've got into internships in tech companies, because our hit rate in getting internships has been, for those who are available, it's at 90%. Due to the pandemic, there is a slowdown in the speed in which they get internship, but still internship opportunities are existing and they're taking those opportunities. So we actually arrange for laptops. So for the cohorts during the pandemic, we not just courier the laptops, but even some of these children have issues in having internet connections, because they come from, if you may say, the bottom of the pyramid from a socio-economic perspective, and they don't have even sometimes internet access and or the money to pay for the internet. For those children, we even top up their internet to make it happen for them, because we know that after 6 months it becomes transformational, and this whole thing changes. So that's how we work. And from a certification perspective, no, we don't have a certification. We don't go into that path, because that's not what we believe in, because that's an old school of thought as per us. Because for us, what matters is whether they can get into tech companies, and if the companies are happy to take them in tech, what happens is, if you can program, if you can show output, that's what matters most for a tech company, not the piece of paper that you hold
Or they start their
with a
own
thing.
company, or they start their own
They
company.
start their own company, absolutely. So we go against that kind of philosophy. So what we intentionally and technically did was, because if not, they will start going through the whole grind in the education system of trying to memorize, trying to make sure that they can kind of do stuff. That's not what we want to do, but we are not discouraging them from starting a degree post this. So a lot of students during the course, we tell them, you don't have a degree, so for the future you might need a degree. So while we are making money, because they start making 40,000, 50,000, all the way to 90, 100, 120,000 rupees a month. So at that point of time, we advise them so that they go out there and do a degree while they are working at a tech company. So a lot of these students, when they start getting cash, usually end up doing either an external degree or a part-time degree. And that's the trend that we've seen. And we continue to facilitate that process with them. So now, for example, one of the good things that's also going to happen is we've just tied up with the IIT in Madras. So they will also offer an online degree program as well. And they can do it in Jaffna. So YarlIT would actually be the exam center for IIT Madras online degree as well. So likewise, there are opportunities, like even local opportunities which already exist, and even these international opportunities which are opening up. So these children can actually pursue, and we would continue to encourage them to pursue a degree. But UKI will continue to be more a professional training course.
On top
Thank
of
you.
that,
Then one more question is, the slides just you show us before this, is that you possible to email to me so I can?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Santhan, you can send it to me and I can share it with them.
Sure.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'll do.
And then one thing that wasn't communicated well is they actually have physical co-working space where these students can come in and get internet access and have offices and start their companies, make phone calls and all that kind of stuff. They also help them get bank accounts, file the paperwork to, actually formalize the company. All of that stuff there is staff that is helping them. So they're not just left alone to go figure out how to start a company, which they don't. The other thing that is pretty impressive is they built a very good set of mentors worldwide. Myself networking with those mentors, I got to know a lot of people. I mean, they're in Canada, they're in Australia. They're not just in IT, they're in agriculture and lots of different areas. Mentors, dedicate an hour every other week to talk to the teams, and that's all they're asking. I think I felt like So Santan came to California to present this, I don't know, 3 years ago. So I just walked up to him and said, "Hey, sign me up," and that's how I got in. So I think that there's a lot of things mentors can get, not just the satisfaction of helping these kids, but also they can network with other mentors as well. So I think it's pretty good. That's what I feel.
That was going to be my inquisitiveness actually, was just continuing on from there. So these kids, they come, they're young, energetic, they're given kind of a massive platform to launch themselves in different directions. And it looks like the pathways that you've described, Sandan, the best one is, of course, if they can become entrepreneurs and, become big. That's probably the ultimate goal, I guess. The other one is, you said they can find employment in the tech industry in Colombo or Jaffna or wherever. And these are the two. And then they want to pursue higher things, they can hook up with university. Are these the three primary things? Did I get that right?
Absolutely. So those are the three primary things. So just to give you a percentage, usually there's about 5 to 10% who will get into entrepreneurship. The rest would actually largely go into
employment,
work in the industry as employment. Again, there is a hierarchy over there. Some go into product companies, some go into services companies, some go into BPOs. And then while doing this, they would also try to pursue like a degree program. So that's how the thing that kind of looks like. I think you rightly described.
Yeah, I think that the most successful thing, most impactful thing, Kamal, is the person starts a company, they now are self-sufficient. They've got it profitable.
Absolutely.
They're making money. They're making money. They're not depending on this woman that I mentored. She doesn't need to depend on her husband. She's not even married. If she did, she doesn't need to depend on. She's running a business, and then she's employing 34 people.
Right.
Who are widows. And to me, that you can't get more impactful than that. It's just not only helping yourself,
absolutely,
and helping others.
So when you do this kind of training and on the IT and all, where do the ideas for entrepreneurship come in? Do you also cultivate that as part of your this thing, or that's or how do you actually infuse that during that 6 months?
Yeah, so that's we've created like we leverage tools and techniques like ideation techniques to kind of brainstorming sessions to like there's a lot of inspiration also that is available for them, because they get opportunities, because there's so much events and stuff happening, so they get opportunities to pop up and start seeing, and these children, some of them start coming into that and start seeing what others are doing as well. So like that's creating like a place where also we created a safe space, I would say. Most biggest success, although we talk about initiatives, I think the biggest success that we created within Uki and YarlIT Hub is to create a safe space where these children can come and dream. They can talk about their ideas. Nobody's laughing at it. They can come and fail. They can come and talk about things which won't work. Then we give them the tools and techniques. For example, how to do customer validation, how to talk to potential customers, how to validate their hypothesis, how to do a business modeling canvas. We introduce all those tools while they're at the coding school. So with those, then they get equipped. They become faster at learning those. So that's how we do it. We bring in the science behind it along with the space that they can do it, and then they run wild with it.
So I think all the ideas I've seen, Kamal, is they came up with it. I asked them, the first question I asked them, how did you come up with this? And they said, I saw the problem because I saw this as a problem. So I figured out a way to solve it.
I think that's why we were saying that the 5%, because these are the intelligent ones who see the problems in what others or in any industry there is, and they can solve it. But if we could actually increase that percentage to from 5 to 10 or 15, then it's a massive success. So for that, do we need to do something like, okay, put them in touch with doctors? Okay, what are the problems they could have, and possibly, get to know them, or the engineers, what do they have, or what's their challenge at the moment, where they can make a difference? So it should, is that kind of thing to boost up that entrepreneurship into it, because eventually that's what is going to make this a success, isn't it? I mean, okay, employment is good
Absolutely.
as well.
I also, I mean, what they typically do is look at past projects. Oh, by the way, this is Rajivan here. By the way, good presentation. But I've noticed that other people usually show past projects and what people have done, and that sometimes sparks other ideas related to that. If you go into a master's program, you don't know what your thesis topic is. You know, the guy might show you, okay, these are things that are done in the past. So these are other things that we have listed, that sort of thing.
Absolutely. So we run something called ideation. It's more like the same thing that you mentioned on a structured way, where we bring in experts from different areas and these students together, and we put them into the same process where they try to work together and try to solve one problem at this particular given time constrained manner. But what happens out of that is probably the problem that they were trying to solve during that time was not the thing that they eventually did, but it allowed them to network with these professionals and people like doctors and others. Now, for example, Arogya came out of such a ideation session where we actually had doctors coming in, and like we had a medical stream on our ideation session, which was a 4-hour session. And they like try to put down a problem, try to prototype, work together. It also gives you confidence. Okay, like this is like an opportunity for me to collaborate on. They might even offline start collaborating on a different problem. So they go through like a brainstorming session, putting it down, building a prototype on a time constrained manner. So we run these ideation sessions. Absolutely. So we should do more of it. I think that's the key.
It's
Yeah, the thing
fantastic, you
is,
guys.
these kids also surprise yourself, because I learn a lot. I was thinking the old way of doing things, they said, no, I can do this on Facebook. Let me get this done. I know how this works. And they have better results than what I would suggest if I was going to do that, right? So sometimes it's stunning, what they come up with. It's surprising, yeah. Because today, they're not growing up in the world we grew up in. They're growing up with YouTube. They're growing up with the internet. Everything they can learn online. We don't need to go to library, So they have everything at their fingertip, and so they know what to do. So a lot of times they just need guidance. That's it.
That's it.
Okay, I think I've run out of questions, but quickly, and then what sort of background the volunteers are from? What do they do? I mean, just inquisitive. Are they teachers? Are they university lecturers? Are they doctors?
All kinds of backgrounds, I would say. Mostly professional. So that's the thing. And also students, professionals, and even like first generation, like diaspora, second generation diaspora, living in Jaffna, like all, like the whole mix of it, living in Colombo, like the whole mix is we have. So it's a number that's been growing every year as well.
I say, by the way, who's running Oki at this point?
So Oki, we have employed staff. So most of them are people who had worked in the tech industry. So for example, Sandhini, who runs Oki in Kilinochchi, she worked in Singapore, moved to Kilinochchi, based in Kilinochchi. She worked in the software industry and now dedicatedly full-time working on Oki. Likewise, we have Brinda, who worked as a senior software engineer at a large tech company. She's moved and she's in Jaffna, and she runs Oki Jaffna. Likewise, we have staff who's actually running that, and all of them have hands-on experience in the tech industry.
I see.
Simon, I have maybe a stupid question. What is Aki and Uki stands for?
Aki. Uki.
Akam is Aki.
Okay. Sorry for the ignorance. Sorry for the ignorance.
Khalid, that was back of my mind. I was trying to think whether English or Tamil. But then thanks, Said, for the explanation. You gave us all.
I thought it's a Japanese word, so I was trying to see what's the relationship.
I have logged on to Aki.com to see what is the Aki.coach. But I couldn't see any explanation of the name. Thanks, Santhan, for that explanation.
So, Santhan, this is Yoga Chandran. Thanks for presentation. I have a question. I think one of your slides, you had a lofty goal by 2022 to both projects. What do you have all of the elements you need to accomplish, or if not, what do you need to get to your goal?
that's a tough question to answer whether it can accomplish, because we did have like setbacks due to the COVID. Some are not within our control. We would have liked 2020 to have been the numbers higher than that. If you look at the goals, we accelerated, but we could have been like, it kind of drove us back a little bit, but in certain areas pushed us further. So I think at this point of time, more than anything else, the opening up so that we can actually do more physical activities, that's actually constraining us a lot. We are holding back physical activities. We didn't want to bring people together. So that's actually the main thing that's actually holding us back at this point of time. And then of course, I think we are good to, I think, come part of this way. So like from a funding perspective, you have booked funding where let's say to get to 50% of our goal, we already have secured the fundings. But in order to get to 100% of the goals, we'll have to kind of raise more funding at some point of time. So those will become the two constraints. But if you ask me right now, what's the problem? Funding is not the issue, because we will probably need funding in as soon as we get 50% of our target goal. But most likely, when you're doing good things, it happens to you that you will actually meet people who would actually bring that into you. That's not the it's not the biggest concern, but like at the moment, the biggest concern is for us to go out there and doing things physically. If not, we might not be able to kind of accelerate our impact right now.
Okay.
Do you get any
fund? You can ask Sri. Yeah.
Sayanthan Patmaraj from Melbourne. Do you get any funding from the local government or from the Sri Lankan government?
No, we don't seek funding from the government. So we keep it out because as soon as we do that, it becomes political. So we've made a decision that we will not. We are privately funded and we stay that way.
This is Ramesh. Very nice presentation. Thank you. So you mentioned you're registered as a non-profit in Sri Lanka as well as other countries too?
And so we are only registered in Sri Lanka. We are registered as a company limited by guarantee, so that we don't, like, you can call ourselves YarlIT Hub. We don't have to call YarlIT Hub private limited. That's not needed because it's not for profit, and that's how technically how not-for-profit registration gets translated locally. And but we don't have registrations in other countries. We don't have registrations. We work with partners.
The funding organization in US is a private entity, right? That is not a nonprofit, right?
No, ITF is actually not-for-profit, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, they do have a not-for-profit registration, because I know that for sure they have, because I know that they leverage Apple's kind of Apple, and I think few other companies give this one-on-one, like if you put $1, they put in $1. So they leverage that because they are not for profit. So I'm sure they are not for profit. So they are a partner organization. So partner organization actually channels funds to us through that. So that's how we work. So we don't have YarlIT Hub registered anywhere else. It's only registered in Sri Lanka.
Sayanthan, congratulations, and very impressed. Thank you for what you're doing. Question: have you worked with any collaborative effect with efforts with other organizations, sort of similar organization in Sri Lanka, or you work on?
Yeah, absolutely. So for example, currently we are collaborating with Sivan Arul Foundation. So they run a lot of things, and also they run orphanages. So
what's the name? Sivan Arul?
Sivan Arul Foundation.
Okay.
So
they have in Klinochi.
Yeah, they have in Klinochi, they have in Mannar, they have in East. So if you look at even in Uki, this cohort, we have children from Sivan Arul Foundation learning at Uki. They are from Mannar, they are from Oldumade, they are from Tirukkovil in the East, and all of that. So we kind of collaborate with them, and they have a center in Oldumade, Nedungani, which is like very rural. So we are now at the we just started and we have to stop because of outbreak again. But we are restarting again, where we actually run even courses for school children at those places. So that's one example of an organization we collaborate with. But on a case-by-case basis, we do collaborate with a lot of organizations, and usually from the way it works, as you know, it's a very small community. So most likely whoever who's working on this space, we very well know them. And especially on e-learning, we had also been running like sessions where we bring together everybody who's working on e-learning and try to work together. So for example, even some of the others who work on e-learning leverage the content that we have made, and we make sure that it's available to them so that they can kind of spread that even more. So yeah, so I think there's a lot of collaboration that happens. It's just that I might not be able to list it down, but like we know each other and we work together. And our philosophy is so
very good. Thank you.
Yeah, so there's no issue in collaborating.
Thank you.
Then a couple of questions. In relation to the teaching, is it done in English or in Tamil?
So it's mostly in English, but with a lot of Tamil used in between. So the classes are structured in such way the students have to definitely speak in English, and that's how their English actually transforms during 6 months. So if you look at what we teach during, like there are 4 things that we cover during the program. One is programming, second is English, especially spoken English, then basic business and personal coaching and mentoring. So these are the 4 elements that we have within the coaching, the UKI coding school curriculum.
Also, you are actively supporting the entrepreneurship. So when a student coming out of the course, is there an ecosystem within your organization where they can just plug in any ideas and you will create the infrastructure for them? For example, website and the cloud services, all done without they putting any effort on that. I call it as a commodity, just available there, and they can focus on the business side.
So okay, so this is how it happens.
Did you understand?
I do understand. Yeah, I do understand the question. So I would answer not for all, but what we do is we have the connections and we route them to the right place. So for example, as Vasandan mentioned, before they even the tech infrastructure, they need to register a company, they need to have the websites and stuff like that. We have now compiled all that together, and our staff will actually tell them these are the options you have, choose one of them and go for it. For example, we also have the AWS free stuff that we have. So we tell them this AWS package is there and they give $100 credit and all of that, or this is the Google's package, they give $200 credit. You can choose. So all that is available. We have the know-how, so we kind of direct them to that, and then they kind of set it up and spawn it. So that's how it is. We don't say that this is the only option and then and provide that, but we just have all the options and then let the student or the entrepreneur select what they want to do.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, guys?
Navanithan here. Splendid work and very, very impressive. Thanks for is the online teaching now in some sense, I know pandemic has limited operating centers and accelerated your going online, which I think is also expanding your reach beyond just the province or whatever. Which I mean, of course, both there are good and bad, but considering that it expands the reach, are you all actively promoting and reaching out to the other provinces so that there can be more disadvantaged children from the other areas who can come in and tap into your and if you are doing that, how, because like now you have given a whole new world of things that's happening for us itself. It is I mean, it's very enlightening now for this to be known to those children. Like, what do you all do to promote what you all have in not I'm sure it's well known in Jaffna or the northern province, but outside that, what do you all try to do?
So there are a few things. Even in North, we wish that it was known more. so that's our wish. So we keep striving to reach more and more children, especially more and more rural children. But from the other provinces, what we're trying to do is, like, if you look at Eastern Province, last year we slowly started breaking into Eastern Province a little bit and started connecting students. There's a little bit of coverage that's happening in the Western Province. So for example, the data science goes to the others. We have had children from Western Province also joining in and kind of learning. Even today on UKI, we have a few from Western Province as well. But besides
so
that, one of the things
there were a couple of Sinhalese students in the last cohort. I thought I saw those.
That is on YarlIT challenge. So YarlIT challenge, the competition, of course, southern to like the whole island actually comes and competes. But if you look at Uki or the accelerator, that has been largely from the northern province. So that's what it is. But like if you look at YarlIT challenge, it is open for everybody. So we have even Sinhalese students from the south kind of competing on that. But in order to answer your question on Uki, the coding school, one of the things that we've been actually looking at is we've created a franchise model. Due to the pandemic, it got kind of constrained. So even, I'm not sure whether you know of Foundation of Goodness based in Sinigama has been actually talking to us. They were talking to us, trying to see whether they can run a Uki center by Foundation of Goodness in South as well. We were happy to kind of facilitate that, give it as a franchise. So we will own the franchise and they will kind of be a franchisee running that operation. But due to the constraints, it got stopped. Likewise, we've been having organizations in East talking to us, trying to see whether they can run a center in those places. But all that is being stalled during the current thing, so we've not executed. The other one that we are looking at is like, if you really look at Uki today, as I mentioned, largely the course content is delivered in English, but we do have conversations sometimes happening in Tamil as well. So not every student can come in and kind of be part of that. One of the things that we have been exploring is, because this problem exists in other places as well, to see whether we can actually launch an English version, a fully English version online. So anyone from anywhere can join and learn through Uki. So that's something that we've been kind of toying around with. We have not launched it yet, but that's something that a lot of people have been asking, especially from other provinces. It has been like a request, and a lot of even tech companies have been asking us to do that, because they recruit people, they're happy with it, and they see that there's much more potential on what we're doing. So at the moment, to answer that, probably we've not done that, but we've been exploring, and I hope that we do it soon.
That's great. That's really nice. Just one more thing. I mean, to do all this, I know you said everything, the most of the staff are working on the direct programs and all that. But even to, keep these contacts with these bases, the internship programs, the accelerate all that. I mean, your alumni and everything, there must be a huge administrative burden. I mean, unless that is also handled specifically by a staff. How do you all, manage that kind of thing?
Again, it's a lot of volunteers and leverage in technology. So we would immediately build databases out of it, and then also volunteers. So thankfully, we are blessed with very skilled volunteers around the world who's actually working with us. They come and help us at all these little areas to make things happen. So I think it's a skill of their the skilled volunteer force that we have. I think Vasandan would have seen some of the volunteers and staff that have been working.
I've had like 50 meetings in the last 2 years. No meeting started a minute later. Like there's a coordinator who's there, bring in the founders, and the meeting starts on time. The notes are taken, action items are taken. They come to the next meeting with what was done between the last 2 meetings. It's just very well organized, structured with technology, I would say.
Vasandan, what particular meetings are you talking about?
So I mentor different businesses that Santan was talking about, and I meet with them I personally meet with them every other Friday night, which is Saturday morning over there, and those meetings are coordinated with these volunteers. They have Zoom
and so on, or what?
So the volunteers bring in the founders. The founders could be busy working in Klinachi, out of town or something like that. Just be able to contact them, bring them into the meeting, and have taken notes taken and all that kind of stuff. So I think the people, that is one of the things that kept me going, because if the meetings are delayed and everything, I got scheduled, I need to get off, and so they're very punctual and organized. It's the best thing that I've seen. That's why it keeps running.
Who's the initiator in the meetings typically?
Abarna starts the meeting for me. She's a Moratuwa graduate, right?
She's yeah, so she's a Porto graduate as well, and she's a lecturer. So she's one of the volunteers that works with us. And then, but like we have similarly, we have a lot of volunteers working on different areas.
I see. To change tack a little bit, Rajivan, by the way, I was wondering, what is the highest level technological project that came out of UKI or the challenge in terms of software or hardware?
UKI, I would say, has been more like towards e-commerce platforms that has been built. But if you really look at the YarlIT challenge, we have Internet of Things companies coming out of. So, for example, SenseMate is a completely Internet of Things company. If you look at Root Codes, they launched Root Codes AI currently, working on artificial intelligence. You name it. So we've got all kinds of companies coming out.
Yeah,
currently.
Rajivan,
We even
I
have
can tell you, there's a lot of things. Like, for instance, there is an app they have developed to see if a mango is ripe fully or not. And they got, results based on AI. There's another one that is a beekeeper, that is Internet of Things, that's got sensors to see where the bees are storing things and so on. So just, lots, not just software, it's got hardware things as well.
Yeah, sensors and things?
Yeah, IoTs, yeah.
So who is owning those IPs?
It's their own IPs. Each individual team, they own the IP.
Yeah.
So do they file for patents and stuff, or?
So not always. Some, I think there might be few patents, because like filing patents is not like a smooth process for them, or it's too expensive sometimes to get it done, and not always like registering patents for it. But I would say it's also on especially on the software side of things, it's more about execution, also how fast they can do it. So we encourage them to actually go out there and do it as soon as possible.
I see. Oh, by the way, do they have things like trade secrets? The people who want to keep their IP private.
So they might be having, once they are registered as companies. So like those are not things that we're discussing or like on our forums. It's a trade secret, but I'm not sure. So when they had become a company, they might have done that, but I don't know to answer that question.
I see.
Hey guys, we are running over time. Any other questions?
Yeah. No, thank you, Sayantan, for the presentation. It was great. Yeah.
Hey, thank you, Santan. We are going to stay on and discuss things, but you can drop off. I appreciate your time.
I have one last question.